Hey, it's Kyle here. Today I'll be reviewing Devolution by Max Brooks. Many people will probably know Max Brooks is the author of World War Z and The Zombie Survival Guide, which were two very, very popular books, especially World War Z, which became a huge movie. But before I get into the review of his newest book, I'll do my little regular reminder. If you enjoy this video, please hit that like button. I really appreciate the support. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me every time I see I get a new subscriber. So thank you for that. And now on to my review of Devolution by Max Brooks. So if you're familiar with Max Brooks' other works, The Zombie Survival Guide and World War Z, this has a very similar concept behind it. So basically with these three books, the basic idea is they're fiction books, but they're written as their non-fiction. So the Zombie Survival Guide was like an actual survival guide that just assumed everybody knew zombies were real and this is how you survive, and like almost like, this is how you survive if you get lost in the woods, or how you survive in case of an earthquake, is that type of thing. World War Z was about basically an after-action report by the United Nations about how the zombie outbreak took place across the entire world, and there was humanity's fight against the zombies, World War Z, to reclaim the Earth. And it was written as interviews with the survivors after the actual event, which is a very interesting concept to kind of way to write a fiction book as it's nonfiction. So this book, De-Evolution, is a very similar concept. Instead of with zombies, this time the fictional character getting the nonfiction treatment is Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, Yeti, whatever you'd like to call it. So the basic plot of this book is there's a massive volcanic eruption in the Pacific Northwest at Mount Rainier, which I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. And so it cuts off a huge segment of that part of the country because it's a huge, huge eruption. So the government's able to get everybody to rescue them while they're dealing with all the aftermath of the volcanic eruption. And there's a small community near Mount Rainier, but not directly in the path of the volcanic eruption. That's basically about this high-tech, new concept community that's mostly meant to kind of test and pioneer green technology and smart technology, almost to kind of help develop the home of the future, for basically a way for people to kind of live in such a way that it's not a negative impact on the environment. It's supposed to be kind of like the model community and the model home for the future. But it's very small. There's only either like 6 or 8 houses, a very small, tight-knit group. But part of the concept is they're out in the middle of the nowhere, just kind of showing that you can live this high-tech life anywhere. You don't have to be in a big city. So as a result of this eruption, they kind of get cut off from the outside world. And they're such a small community, and since they're not directly in the path of the volcanic eruption, they're not immediately rescued, so they're just cut off, and they don't know how long they're going to be on their own because they really have no way to contact anybody. They've cell services down, their internet's down. Any way that they normally would contact the outside world is just not working at the moment. So what the concept of this book is after all this has happened and this community finally is reached by the authorities, it's been completely destroyed. Buildings have burned. There's dead bodies. It looks like there's absolutely battle fought here, and they find this journal from one of the residents. And the brother of the person who wrote the journal is given it by the authorities, or I can't remember the exact concept. He gets a hold of it somehow, and he's so mad the authorities are not making public what really happened to this group that he basically leaks it to an author in hopes that he can get the world's attention of what really happened here. So with this introduction, basically then the book is actually the journal entries from this resident in this community, and the author of the book is kind of adding in additional interviews from like experts in the field, like park rangers, scientists, the brother of the individual who wrote the journal, to kind of get their input on what they think happened. And basically the journal, as you read the journal entries, it's very straightforward, and this is not a plot spoiler because they lay this out even before you start reading the journal entries, is the journal makes clear that the residents of this community believe they are being attacked by Sasquatch, in fact, a family of Sasquatch, and they're basically fighting for their lives. And so when the community's found and, it's been wiped out, this person's brother believes, this was done by Sasquatch, and the government is just trying to cover it up. So that's the basic concept. Again, none of this is a plot spoiler because it's all laid out very early in the book, even before you officially start the first chapter of the journal entries. So I really enjoyed the concept. I will say, first off, I love Max Brooks' writing style. I love how he brings in actual facts and history to this obviously fictional event that he's writing about. It's a very cool concept, especially for somebody like me who loves reading nonfiction. I will say I did not enjoy this as much as the Zombie Survival Guide or World Z, but it has nothing really to do with the plot of this book or the writing or anything like that. It's the fact that I've always kind of been interested in zombies. Like, I've read zombie stuff, I've watched a lot of zombie TV shows and movies. Bigfoot or Sasquatch has never been anything that's really been super interesting for me. I've never went out of my way to actually watch a special about Bigfoot. Sometimes I've seen one just because it happens to be on, but it's not a driving interest for me. In fact, if I'd seen this book at a bookstore and it was just about here's this novel about a Bigfoot thing, I would have got it. The reason I got it is I've read Max Brooks before. I really enjoyed him. It's I'm going to read this author. But I trust the author. So I think that's the main reason why I did not enjoy this as much as World War Z. I think honestly, if you're maybe into Bigfoot, if that's something you find interesting, either in a fictional wise, you just love books or movies that kind of explore that concept, or maybe if you're a true believer, this might be a book that you'll love a lot more than World War Z. So I think that plays a role in it. I'll also say if you typically maybe are not a huge nonfiction fan, I don't know if Max Brooks' style will necessarily appeal to you as much as before. As compared to other traditional fiction authors. But I would say if you liked World War Z, if you read that book, and you like that writing style, you'll enjoy Devolution. So I'm not going to get into more of the plot, because once you get deep into journal entries, that's the stuff you find out on your own. And there was a couple of twists and turns I did find very enjoyable. I like the mixture of characters. There's some characters you're definitely rooting for, some other ones you're not so much rooting for. The evolution of the characters and how they face this crisis is also very interesting, because it is very interesting to see how different people react to a very stressing and life-threatening event. But anyway, so that's my review of Devolution by Max Brooks. Definitely recommend it. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. If you have it up, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support, and happy reading. See you next time.